It's okay. I got it. I got it. Okay, welcome to week number 4, Introduction to Corrections. And I'm going to spend some time going over a few things. First of all, the number one thing that I want to talk about, and it has happened a couple of times since I've finished grading week 2 for the project, is that several of you have not either looked at the archive of open house or did not look at the archive of week 2 when I spent a lot of time going over the requirements for the project and indicated that only 4 types of agencies or organizations or individuals would be acceptable, and that is parole, probation, prison, or jail. Only those 4. And a few of you have sent me your agency as a police department or law enforcement. I went over again, and I want to start out by saying again that this is reminding you what is the title of this course, that it is Intro to Corrections, and that in corrections we are dealing with individuals who are beyond the law enforcement aspects. They've either been found guilty or pled guilty, one or the other. And so now this course deals with how we operate with individuals that have been sentenced. And your sentence can put you in one of 4 categories. Initially, you could get probation, which means you don't go to jail, and you're subjected to reporting to a probation officer, satisfying the conditions that are set forth in your judge's order. And then the difference between that and parole is that in parole, you have served some time, and then you're allowed to spend the rest of your time on the outside of prison. I'm going to take some time today to talk about a very popular parole hearing that took place this past week that involved the O.J. Simpson case, and I'm going to talk about that and make some comments. And so those of you who are doing parole might listen very carefully to this and take a look at this. And while I'm on it, I did get a comment from one or 2 students. I know at least one that said that there was no parole in Florida, but that is not true. I sent that information out that there is parole in that state. So sometimes parole is called by another name, but in the state of Florida, they still use the term parole, and parole is it does exist, and there's a parole board. So I've dealt with jail, and I've dealt with parole, and I've dealt with probation. Now jail, what is the difference in jail and prison? It's based on the amount of time that you serve. If you, for example, serve time even after you're found guilty, and it turns out that you committed an offense that was either a misdemeanor that subjects you to less than a year time, then you don't go to prison for that. You go to jail, and you're incarcerated generally in the county jail or the local jail that falls within that jurisdiction. But you have some of the same things that happen in prison, except you have more hardcore people in prison. The other and final one is prison, of course. And in prison, that's when you are gone for a period of time. And when you are gone for a period of time, you find yourself actually what we call incarcerated, and you're in-house. So, and prisons are operated generally by the state. Some are operated by the county, but in our state, for example, Illinois, we have what we call IDOC, or the Illinois Department of Corrections, which handles prisons. And we have facilities like, for example, here near where I'm at, in the Romeoville area is Stateville, right there, not too far from our campus in Romeoville. And then there are other prisons. And then in our jurisdiction, the counties themselves, I'm in Will County, we have the Will County Jail. And that's where individuals are kept either awaiting trial where they don't make bail, or they've been sentenced there while awaiting trial and not granted bail. So anyway, I just wanted to start out by clarifying that to make sure that everybody understands it. And I've had a few people to contact me with questions about what they could do about that. And I'm not going to tell you in this recording what I told them. I do know that if you do have an issue, don't keep going with the project because you're going to get zeros all the way down. And that is not a good thing. You just have to remember, again, and I reminded students, this is a course in corrections, not law enforcement, okay? So it is a part of the criminal justice system, but it is not the same. It is totally different. Okay, having said all of that, now let me get to sharing my screen for the assignments here. Okay, for the week, that career fair is either over or either it's past time, so you can disregard that because that was at 6 o'clock Central Standard Time, and so it's probably over now. But at any rate, we're going to go right down to, while I'm at it, I still want to remind students that it is so important that you get the APA requirements. I've had students that lose points in many of their writings, 5 points right off of the bat, because you failed to have citations and references. There's a requirement for both. If you have issues, you could go to the APA guide, but I also say that right here on your home page. About research, but then all written assignments should be in APA format. And then I clarify it by saying citations in the body and references at the end. I have students that say, well, I did put one. Do I get some of the points? The answer is no. It's either APA or it's not. APA is not satisfied. It's just like half a right answer. There's no such thing. That's an oxymoron. It's either a right answer or it's a wrong answer. And so I don't want you to go out of my class, at least, without knowing the correct way to do things. And it is for your benefit that you learn that and apply it, because it's not just my class, it's across the board, and it also could affect you in the future in your employment opportunities. And we know that you're not in class just to stay in here. You're here to learn so that you can achieve the goal of accomplishing whatever field it is that you want to go into. I am going to share at the end something that I didn't share in this class. I shared it in, did I do this in the open house? I did it in one of the open houses. I think I did. In the open house, yeah, I did share in this class what my whole thing about adversity was all about what I went through to get to where I am today. I think I did. I'm almost sure I did. I know that there's one class that I missed doing it in. Good. Thank you, Carissa. I thought I had done it, so I won't do that again. But you understand already why I am the way I am. I'm a person who believes in perfection, but I do it because of the professionalism that I know that is in each of you, and I appeal to that in you to bring that out, so that it's just like breathing after a while. That's why I'm tough on that critical thinking and making sure that you get into that habit. So anyway, our next lecture will be week 6. And then after that lecture, we only have 2 more. This quarter is moving pretty fast. So I encourage you to keep moving forward and then keep in contact with me. I've had a few people to call me. I've had a few people to text me. I had a few people to email me. Some of the emails that were sent to me were issues that if it was me, I would have been calling or texting, because of the fact that it is very important sometimes that you reach me right away. But there are times when, you know, I'll delay, but I can tell you my habit and mode is to reach back out to you as soon as possible. And then, like, for example, if somebody called me right now, which I've had to happen, I have my phone on silent, but to make sure that if a student needs me, my phone is near me. It's right by my bed. And so I'm almost like a doctor there. But I want to see you guys be successful. All right, having said that, let's look at what's required this week. This is the 4th week, jails and prisons. And I kind of talked a little bit about that already, but we're going to talk about that a little more. Sections 3 and 6 of your textbook, corrections. It's a good textbook. It's a very good book. And then complete the activities, prison versus jail, interviewing, and then a look inside a maximum security prison. I received a message from one of your classmates telling me about the link knot, so I reported it to personal support, and they said that they fixed it, not with the video, but we'll see when we come to it as well. Then, of course, it reminds you of the lecture tonight, and then your discussion assignment, issues facing jails. What kind of issues? You guys have done pretty good with that. Your initial posts were fantastic that were submitted so far. Yesterday, I responded to one. I responded to another today, and sometimes I respond to a third, but most times it's 2. It'll be a different one. I don't know which one. Every time it comes up, the issues come up. But the key thing is that I like the fact that many of you have submitted multiple reply posts, as I indicated earlier. And I also like the fact that most of your posts have been pretty good. You'll notice my remarks. And then, by the way, what I'm saying that, please, I encourage students to read my remarks. Read what I say to you. I give you some pretty straight to the point issues. Most of my students provide good content, but there are either some grammarly issues, or either there's a failure to follow the APA issues, or either the third issue that creates a problem is that students don't follow the content requirement, requiring more details. These assignments are generally 2 pages long, not discussions now. I'm only thinking about that out loud right now, but the discussions should be not just 1 or 2 liners. They should be, and you guys have been good at it. And I tell you that if you have good detail, good information and content, excellent. If I see something very special I like, I let you know that as well. I read them. I read all this stuff. And so I have 91 students, and I read all of these things. And it's done pretty fast, but I'm pretty good at this stuff now. And so anyway, the issues facing jails, you guys have done pretty good. Continue. The other thing is please make sure that you get your post in on time. Your initial post, of course, you do Tuesday by 11:59 p.m. And if I see a time, it's CST, which is Central Standard Time. But I say that, maybe I should put that in my future announcements when I get ready to do them again. But the point of the matter is that be aware that when you see that, some of you are in Florida, so you shouldn't miss the 11:59 p.m. because 11:59 p.m. For you is 12:59. Okay, I comment about that. I comment about that in your discussion post. But here's the answer to that question. Here's the deal. The rule of 10% per day is supposed to apply. However, though, I have decided that with discussion posts, and this is what I've been doing, and I explained to my deans before how I felt about this whole issue, is that I give you 1 point off for each day that it's late. That's the answer to the question. So if your post is due on Tuesday, 11:59 p.m., and you submit it Wednesday, you're going to lose points. If you submit it Thursday, you're going to lose points. So all the way up until you get to Saturday. Saturday is when your reply post is due. I've seen students sometimes submit initial post and reply posts on Saturdays. And depending on whether you're in a class that gets 20 points, which I think this one does per week, 10 for each post, initial and one reply post. But you will lose. So if you waited until Saturday, so you'd lose Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday. So it would be 4 days late. So you could, and then assuming that your reply post was on Saturday, then you're going to end up, in, if it's a 20-pointer, with 16 points, assuming the content and everything was okay. I like citations and references. I don't require them, but I let you know that I appreciate them because it shows that you're doing some information. Sometimes I see people using the textbook. It's okay. It's okay in this situation here, but not in your written papers. I already talked about that before about doing some research. But the point of the matter is that we want you to get them in on time. And then reminding you that if your post is after Saturday, if it's Sunday, if it's a reply post, again, I give students a break because it is after the forum is ended, but I do, if it's a reply post, take away 1 point. But if it's done Monday, all deals are off because we're in the next week then from that particular point. So I know you have access to your courses on the Friday before that, but as far as you notice your calendar schedule, which we'll go over in a minute, keep reminding yourself that Monday is officially where I consider the start of the week. The only exception was the very first week, and you know why that was, because of the way the 4th of July fell. But in the normal course of things, Monday is usually the day that that reading takes place and is required. So, and then your written assignment, your state prison classification. It's a two-page document. I want to know about your state prison classification, and then I want you to do some research. Provide citations and references and information about it. Please provide a cover sheet. I don't deduct points, but I do remind students that that is also part of it. Again, technically, I can do that too, but I don't. I'm trying not to be too technical, but what I am doing with you guys is I'm getting you on the right path, helping you develop some good habits that will carry you on to success. And then your course project, agency overview and background. Make sure that you have provided that information. Now, agency overview and background is not the answers to those questions and those. I want to know about your agency. You should know something about them. You already got to the point that you've set up your time. You may have even talked to the person or visited. The bottom line is you've done some research. You know about what classification yours is in, and then you know when it gets to your course project again, you know something about the agency and the background. And then you know how these written assignments are submitted. And then please take time to do the mid-quarter student survey. One of the common comments that I get from people in the mid-quarter survey is that they said grades take about a week to be graded, and that's about right, because just so you'll know that I have, like I said, I have 91 students, but all of us professors have a lot of students. So the course rule is that they give us generally until Friday night, but sometimes I go through Saturday or Sunday. This past instance for week 2, I had to go to Monday because we had power outage. We had storms in our area, and I couldn't grade much over the weekend. So anyway, the bottom line is I try to get your grades back within a week, and make sure that you have your comments. And then, like I said again, please read the comments, and if you have questions about them, please. But if you listen to my lectures, you will say, okay, I missed that point. If you come to the live lecture, you get it firsthand. If you don't, and you get the recording, and so. And then a few students have said to me, speaking of the lectures, that they're not aware of where they get the lectures. I said they're called archives, and they're recordings of the lecture, and they're located on YouTube. But you can't just go to YouTube and find them. I have to give you the link because I have them private, so that you're not all over the public and get them and everything. The bottom line is that once you get the link, you can save the link yourself. You can keep it, and you'll be able to refer to it from time to time. So anyway, complete that mid-quarter survey. I want to see it. What is it about the course that you think would help you more? So some students in this class survey, I'm just saying this, is that I do read them, and they're anonymous, by the way. I don't know who's doing them. The truth of the matter is that students will comment about the project. And actually, I have said to students over and over again, the project is not really onerous. The problem is that sometimes students don't follow all of the instructions and then fall behind. It's like any other thing. You gotta keep up. Why are we doing this? Why are we doing this? Because one day you want to be this. Or, as I have never worked in corrections, but I've worked with corrections officers. All throughout my whole career, I had students who were correction officers and helped me to understand some of the things. I've done independent studies with students who are correction officers to help them to obtain more education. The point of the matter is all I'm saying to you is that this is some good stuff when you learn these things. I became a good lawyer because I started learning from lawyers. That's what I knew I wanted to do. And some of you might say, well, I didn't really want to be in corrections, but this is a good course to take no matter what area you're going to go into in here. Many of you will be parole and probation. This is an excellent course for you to be in because you'll deal with all of those things. Having said that, let me jump into talking about where we are here. So let's go to the calendar. Let's go click on course 2. And your course calendar is a tool that we set up at the very beginning. As soon as you come into the course, you can see your whole schedule laid out for the class and what's expected for the whole 11 weeks. We have it all laid out. And so this week, we are in this week, week 4. And so these are the assignments. And then the same thing comes to the assignments that are due on the 30th. Okay, so everything is, and then next week you see the same thing. Then you'll discover here that by the time you get to next week, we'll be heading into August already. So we're finishing up July. All right. So now let's take a look at the module itself. Let's look first at the assignments again. Okay. Now, notice that week 4, the first thing that you'll see is kind of like what I've been talking about. It's time for you to present the overview of the agency. Regardless of what agency you selected, there are some common issues, and they list those things in here. Okay, and it is also important to look at the mission statement. Every organization I know, particularly jails, prisons, so forth, they have a mission. They have a mission. Now, not lock them up and then let them go when they've served their time. That's not the mission statement. But the mission statement is embedded in if you ask, or you can research their website. You'll discover it. Include a discussion of how the mission statement reflects on the information and the background. We have a mission statement at our school, and what we do here ties right into our mission statement overall. Every organization that I know has a mission statement. The assignment gives you an opportunity. Remember, we talked about transferable skills, guys, at the very beginning in open house. I talked about, and one of them I mentioned was digital fluency and ethics and professional responsibility. Here's what we're doing here. When you jumped into this course, you're developing these particular skills by going through these assignments. That's one of the purposes of our assignments that we lay out here, and the people do a very good job in many of these classes, but I am really especially proud and appreciative of what they do here. Now, notice this. You see right here what I told you. These are, you see, law enforcement doesn't fit. It doesn't fit in here. It's either jail, prison, probation, which fits in with parole. And you know the difference between the two. Probation is before you've been incarcerated, and parole is after you've been incarcerated a while. Okay. Anyway, so you're going to submit it. You're going to have citations. You're going to have references and the information there that you need. That is what you're going to need to do with a cover sheet. That is, of course, that section, the next section of your course project. So that's why you had to have selected the one you're going to do in week 2. And then if you go back to just to revisit, I want to show you something. Here, you didn't have anything there, week 3. That was last week. So, and then I also gave you a rubric at the very beginning of the course where I showed you what the points would be for these assignments. Let's go to it again. Some of you might say, well, I already got this. I know, but there's some of your colleagues that don't. But I'm very thorough, as you know already. So, okay, here's your written assignments here. So these are your written assignments, the rubrics for your written assignments that don't cover it. So actually, it's under Module 1. But I sent you the rubric itself. Let's go back. Visit that. Here we go. So for week 4, agency overview. So the next one after week 4 is not until week 7. That's when you have to have your interview completed. And then 2 weeks later, you're going to submit your final report. Now, when it comes to, let's see, this is not, okay, let's go to this. This is what I sent each of you. Okay. These are all the emails that I've sent out. Okay, let's go to two rubrics. So these are all your classmates. Everybody, your name should be up here. And that means that you did get it. And then here's the rubric. So let's go for just a moment to revisit. So you have week 2, I gave you. Week 4. And here is week 4. And it tells you about 25 possible points that you could obtain there. It tells you how it breaks down, goes all the way down. And it gives every section. So a total of 25 points. You get 3 points for taking care of this part and all the way across, okay? If you fail to do some of these things, you'll miss points, and points will be deducted, okay? Goes all the way down. Notice the APA. It says, provides no evidence of APA. It says a maximum value of 3 points. Now, some of you might say, well, why did I lose 5 points? The reason why you lost 5 points is because it also fits within this. It fits within this, and that's why you get 5 altogether, okay? Because there's some grammatical stuff in there. But if you get the citations and references, you'll end up in very good shape there. So that's how we do that. Any questions so far? Okay. Like I said, I'm very serious about APA because it'll follow you throughout college, and I don't want that to happen. Not leaving my class anyway, and Grammarly as well. So let's go back to 4, and let's get back to our assignments. So anyway, that's the course project. Okay, so now you know what to do for week 2. You know how you'll be graded. Your written assignment, okay, now it also says research the correct department corrections in your jurisdictions and provide a brief overview. Now, be aware of this, that this says a brief overview, but you don't see in here is 2 pages. But here's what I want to show you. I want to show you something. Get into the habit. Your written assignments are 2 pages, and I said that pretty much from the beginning of the course. Okay, this is week 1, week 2, week 3, week 4. Oh, okay, my bad. Okay, it is 1 page. Okay, I stand corrected. I haven't graded week 4 yet because you're in it. So anyway, when I do week 4, I will remind myself that this is the one that has 1 page. And I think the reason why it's like that, and I made the decision, is because of the fact that we have the project that's pretty big part of the project too. So 1 page. But listen to me. Please don't just throw 1 paragraph together, or half paragraph. And you also got to be really careful when you do a 1-page paper. You can get a Grammarly hit pretty easily because your critical thinking has to be. I want citations, references, but I want to see your critical thinking. Run your paper through Grammarly. If you go over 1 page, that's okay. If you go a page and a half, that's okay. But the bottom line is that you will see that most of your assignments Like, for example, here, this one says 1 to 2 page. So when I get to week 3, if a person is doing that, I'll look at that and I'll see. But some of these assignments are like this, 2 pages. See, and that's why I said like the week 2 that papers that were 2 pages. So week 3, you're going to have 1 to 2 pages, and then the same thing here as well. Okay, but again, don't be deceived because you don't want to get a Grammarly hit as well. All right. I'm just trying to keep you guys real in terms of straight. If a student says to me, well, then how come one week it's 1 page, the other week it's 2? It's because of the content of the material as well, trying to balance it out as well. But like I said again, if it's a 1-pager and you do a 2-pager, I've never graded a student poorly or took points off your paper was too long. I've never done that. So no student can ever say I do that because I don't. All right. So now we got all the assignments in for this week. So now let's get to where I want to go. There we go. Let's get to the lesson content. Okay. So we're going to talk about jails and prisons. For the last time, it gives you our assignments for the week. Now, when you get to here, jail versus prison, interview, look inside, these are things that we're going to look at in just a few minutes. But I went over the project, I went over the written assignment as well, and the discussion, and then reminder about the survey. So now let's get to, you read the difference, and I've kind of talked about these, but I'm going to go through them. Jail and prison, and a lot of times they are, as it says here, used interchangeably, but there technically is a difference. And I already said this before. It says here that jail is for short-term confinement. Let me move Carissa and my face out of the way. There we go. And so your face is not in here, but your name is there in my face. But at any rate, jails are short-term. And I generally said that it's misdemeanors and for less than a year. And you go through the same process. You're booked, your process, ID pictures and all that stuff, fingerprints, and then if there's a bail that you make that bail, and if there is not, then you will stay in until your case is disposed of one way or the other. And so as a result of that, then you are sometime released. Now, I will tell you this, that I am happy about this. One of our counties, the biggest county in Illinois, Cook County, has joined together with the state's attorney. Her name is Kim Fox, and the presiding judge, Timothy Evans. And they just jointly came up with a very new concept for individuals who are nonviolent offenders and allow more I bonds or recognizant bonds or low bonds. And the idea is to take the pressure off of the jail, because Cook County Jail is our biggest jail that we have in Cook County. That's where everybody ends up. And so it's at our central courthouse in Chicago, Illinois. But what I'm saying to you is that they have opted to help individuals with some minor offenses who could not ordinarily make bail to allow them to get out. And that's a good thing. I'm hoping, I posted it on Facebook, I'm hoping that other jurisdictions will pick up this same kind of concept, because There are so many people that are in jail for minor offenses. You know what? I've seen people be in jail for something as minor as stealing a bag of chips, and they'll stay in jail for like 6 years, 6 months, 7 months, not a year, 6, 7 months while they're waiting. You know, I mean, it's ridiculous because they couldn't make the bail. And the bail would be sometimes set as little as 1,000, which you have to post 10%, which is 100. And 100 is sometimes very onerous for many of these people in a situation. So now they have decided to do that. I think it's a good move because incarceration is not a fun place to be. Because, by the way, when you're in jail, even while you're awaiting trial, even if you're sentenced there, you're put in a different area. But when you're waiting trial and you're in jail before bail is made, you're exposed to hardened people too as well. And so people can be taken advantage of. There are people who are first-time offenders. There are people who get sent to jail or contempt of court or something that's really not so good, or they could have the wrong person. Anyway, the bottom line is that those individuals are exposed to hardened criminals and they run into a problem. So anyway, contemporary jails are typically located in the community, as I already said, under the authority of the sheriff. We have the sheriff of Cook County, who is over ours, Will County, the various counties. They're elected officials, and, you know, it just explains many things about the jails themselves, okay? That they provide services for people while they're in there, medical, mental health, food service programs, and facility construction. Now, here's the deal. What I'm going to tell you again, the problem is overcrowdedness, as some of you have already referred to, and that is a major problem. But programs like what I just told you a few minutes ago across the board will help to relieve those situations as well. Then it talked about small jails don't have the resources to provide the services to individuals, and it's a real problem. So there are a lot of issues that are facing jail: crowding, violence, mental health placement, and so forth and so on. Now let's shift to prisons. What's the difference? So now we get to the second part of this. Prisons are for, as it says, more serious offenders. Individuals' commitment of at least a year and a day. That's what I said. When it goes to over a year and above, then you go to prison. And prisons are almost 90% prisoners from the state court, and the state, not the federal, and primarily male, sentenced for violent offenses 50% of the time, and there are high levels of minorities and individuals in these prisons. Now, the thing that happens in prisons is that you're there for the period of time, maybe a year, 2 years, 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, and then you are then released either early under parole, which we're going to talk about in just a few minutes, but you're there for a while. There's a lot of issues there because of the hardened people. States classify their individuals based on whether they're minimum security prisons, that is, people, we always call them almost like, not country clubs, but you have a lot of freedom and flexibility. You can even go out and attend school and work and stuff like that. Medium is where you have double bunks, double fencing. You know, you've seen them with the barbed wire and all those different things. Maximum, you see that too. Stone walls, cell observations, toilet right there in the cell. Double fence, watchtowers with guards with weapons, and restricted movement between the cell blocks. Well, why? because you have gangs and you have individuals going after each other and those kind of things. And then the bad to the bone supermax, where you're actually locked down 23 hours, and you might get 1 hour out. And if you mess that up, then you'll go into solitary in a situation like that. So it's real tight. In prison, you have people that get together athletically or doing time in the courtyard. People have different duties depending on the security level classification. And the warden is the one that is responsible for the prison. I shared with you before that I have a young lady who was one of my former students in corrections. She's been in corrections a number of years. She and I have communicated. I'm going to try to get her near the end of the quarter to come in. But before I do that, I'm going to set it at in one of our sessions. One of the ones that we have left where I know that there's a good number of students that appear. I don't want her to take her time just for a couple of students. She would, but I don't want to do that. I want to have a good showing there. And I think that students know that we have a live correction officer coming in that season that might prompt people to make it. Anyway, wardens are in charge of the whole situation here in prisons. Now, before I go to an interview, then we're going to do an interview with jails and prisons. And I already told you that the maximum security virtual tour, they said they fixed it, but I'm gonna reserve that until a little later. But before I go to that, this jail thing, which takes about 10 minutes, we've got about okay, we're at 9:17. We got about 13 or 14 minutes. But I want to share this with you. I took the time to look at the O.J. Simpson parole hearing, which I knew was going to be something else. You know, parole hearings generally are not televised in no shape, form, or fashion, not even in what they call court TV. And the reason why is because of the notoriety of this. I shared with my students before that I actually covered the O.J. Simpson case in 1994 when he was charged with the murder of Nicole and the young man. And so anyway, and you know, he was acquitted there and so forth and so on. So I covered that, not going there. It was on TV entirely, and then I reported to 3 radio stations it was a nice little gig. Got paid pretty good money just to sit at home and watch and then report by phone 15-minute interviews for 3 days a week for a number of weeks during the whole trial. So I'm very, very well versed on that. I also then continued following what happened in the civil suit, and then I also continued following in the case where he did a crazy thing, tried to recover his personal effects in Las Vegas, which resulted in his incarceration. Now, first of all, the minimum that he has to serve is 9 years. I think the max is 22 or something along those ranges. But at any rate, he had been denied parole before, but this time was a different scenario. It was very interesting because parole boards, if you followed it, this consisted of 4 people that were listening to what he said, listening to the evidence that the prosecution presented, which is very unique about this particular parole hearing. There was no prosecutor present. The typical parole hearing generally has the prosecutor from the jurisdiction where the person was tried coming there. But in this instance, it didn't happen, and I'll explain to you why it didn't happen in this case. But The fact of the matter is that there's testimony usually given by the victims and then the party who is the subject, as in O.J. was himself, gave his statements, and then members of his family, his daughter, gave statements. And so anyway, one of the unique things about this one was the one of the victims that's still alive testified that him and Mr. Simpson had worked out their issues, and so he presented some favorable testimony before the parole board, and that's unusual. Victims generally don't. Victims usually are at parole hearings to say no. They present reasons why the person should continue to remain in custody. And then the other part that takes place is and in this case, the testimony of the information provided by the wardens or the individuals who have been responsible for Mr. Simpson while he was in custody, said that he was a model prisoner. He testified to that as well, that he encouraged the inmates to do their time, to stay out of trouble. He admitted that he made a mistake, but that he has paid for it and that he recognizes that it's time and he wanted to get back with his family. So anyway, because he was who he was, it was on TV for the public to see and very open. I don't think you'll find any more of these types of situations. But the one thing that they did do is, of course, they voted, and it was a unanimous decision. And you heard, if you listen to the tapes, if not, you can go back and you can Google, you can go online, and you can find copies of it. It lasts about an hour or so, something like that. And listen to what was said by the actual individuals who determined his fate. And unanimously, they came to the conclusion that they believed that he was remorseful. They believed that he had satisfied all of his requirements. He stayed out of trouble. And as a result, they voted to grant him parole. So out of the parole, you'll notice they gave him conditions, and they listed the conditions. And I commented on Facebook that the conditions that Mr. Simpson had were not unusual. They were the standard conditions. Off the top of my head, that he's to stay away from convicted felons, that he's to stay out of trouble, that what else? He's to report regularly to his parole officer, and there were a couple other things. But the key thing in here is that they were very standard. And then he also had to have in place, which he did, a plan for where he wanted to go. As you know, the crime took place in Nevada. His desire is to go to Florida, and that it was also pointed out that Florida did not have to accept him, but because he has family ties there, they said it was very likely that they were going to accept him there. I haven't heard anything different. If not, then he'd have to serve the rest of his probation. He'd serve his parole. He'd still be out of parole, but he'd serve it in Las Vegas, Nevada, or Nevada, period. I don't think that's the ideal place for him to be, but at any rate, no, I don't think his celebrity status played a role in it at all in terms of their decision, because of the fact that in terms of impressing things on it, what they did, though, let him know is that because of that he might be subjected to some other situations that he might have to overcome that others haven't. And he said exactly what he said. He said, I've been in here 9 years, so many years. And even the jail people said He says, and people know who I am, and I treat people with respect. I try to respect people and stay out of trouble. So he's high profile. Yeah, he is very high profile. And so that's the reason, though, why. But it wasn't because there are other high profile cases, but who he was. And it's a media type frenzy type thing. That's the bad part about it to me, is that he's under the spotlight. I said on Facebook that the only privacy that he has is when he goes to the washroom, and I think that's it. Other than that, I don't think he has any real privacy. But it's going to be like that until 2022, I think it is, or something like that. But at any rate, to answer your question is, now he laid it out himself, and regardless, and here's the thing that some people ask. First of all, number one of the most powerful things I heard was the victim. He said, Mr. Simpson and I made our peace a long, long, long time ago. He says, when I came to the hearing for his sentencing, I recommended 1 to 2 years, or 1 to 3. And the judge who sentenced him to a minimum of 9. And I think the max was 22, something like that. But anyway, there have been questions that, was he sentenced because that judge still felt like he got away with murder? Well, you know, unfortunately, people do view that. But you know what? The man is like anybody else. He was tried by a jury. The jury found him not guilty. And, you know, people are always going to say, I can tell you as a criminal defense lawyer, people are always going to say, do you really believe your client did it or not? And I say, I believe what the jury or the judge says. And that's where you have to operate. Because I told somebody, to be honest with you, I said, I'm a man of God, I'm a minister and all that. I said, God is the only one who knows the truth, but, you know, he's not telling me, okay? I'm not, and you can't judge him. I tell people need to stop, and I'm not saying any of you guys in class, I'm saying people need to stop. You know, everybody has done something wrong. And if you get yourself in a situation, like for example, right now in Chicago, there's a couple police officers on trial for going and shooting a young man, and the prosecutor is charging them with murder. They're entitled to a fair trial too, as well. So everybody's entitled, and when you get it, you get it. And when you're found not guilty, let the people move on. You know, I mean, that was in 1994. Gosh, you know, there are some of you guys weren't even born at that time. You just heard about it. But the point of the matter is that because of who he is, you know, and the whole situation, it was one of the first trials that I ever saw that was on television like that. And so that carried on over, and they think that it carried on over to his sentence. Judges are supposed to be impartial, and not biased, but there is some issues that many of my colleagues, attorneys, and I've seen some of the legal analysts agree with me that they believe that, unfortunately, that played a role in the length of time that he got. Let me see. I want to go back to, let me see the chat because it went too fast. You said that you heard that Domino's made it a killing that night because people, yeah. I mean, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah, back in '94. Yeah, what I'm saying to you is that it was sensationalized. And I mean, and you know what? It wasn't a chase. It wasn't even a chase. It was like, I mean, and Tyler Perry made a joke out of it in one of his movies, Meet the Browns, where the police were following behind them in the movie. The point of the matter is that if you actually saw it, and I did, He followed the whole thing. He had a gun, not on anybody, but himself. He was ready to die, and they had to deal with him from that standpoint. So the point of the matter is, but no, it's a whole another thing. The one thing I don't like that the media does is polarizes people, and unfortunately, tell it like it is on racial lines. That I dislike with a passion, because there are a lot of crimes that I've seen during my years as a lawyer. Some were my clients, some were others that I observed, and there were blacks and Caucasians were the victim, and vice versa, and so forth and so on, different ethnic groups. But the point of the matter is that this was like, we're going to get him. And people that didn't have a clue about how this whole thing worked, they operated on their emotions. It is not a good thing, and that's a bad thing about it. But yeah, you're right, Carissa. Yeah, Domino's did make a killing, and so did other people too as well. You know, it's literally then continued on. Even after the parole ruling was given, they spent time. I was watching HLN Network, which is part of CNN, and they were covering, going back and still talking about the original case. And I said, come on, guys, it's over. That was '94. It's, you know, now this is way over that time to it. 84, 94, 2004, 2014 is what, 15, 16 years later? Come on. You know, the man's already been tried for that. So anyway, so if you're doing a paper and you're dealing with parole, that's a good scenario to take a look at, and then listen to some of the comments, and then do some research, because you'll discover that parole is very interesting, because, and you'll find it out by talking to parole officers, that they will explain to you how they make their decisions, and some of the requirements that are pretty standard there that Mr. Simpson received. So that's what I want to say about that. It's a little longer here. So now I want to conclude with giving you this interview regarding these jail issues. This is a jail administrator, and I want you to listen very carefully to some of the issues that he talked about that we've talked about. This is about 9 minutes. So.
Tell me about your background and your position.
All right.
Here in Sherman County.
Sure. Well, I work at the Sherman County Jail for the past 18 years. Over the past 18 years, I've held the capacity of a corrections officer, of a jail sergeant, the jail captain, and currently I'm the assistant jail administrator.
Okay. And your background?
Before that, I worked for Gum Foods. I was assistant provost manager. I was going to St. Cloud State University when I was the assistant provost manager. And then I had an opportunity to apply for Sherman County, which I did, and I was accepted. Before that, I was in the Marine Corps Reserve. I was a veteran for the First Gulf War, which I learned a lot of things. It was an experience that I'll never forget, and gained a lot of experience out of that. For that, I was at St. Cloud State University. So I went from St. Cloud State University. I joined the Marine Corps Reserve. I didn't graduate at that point, and ended up getting activated for the Gulf War. And when the Gulf War was done, came back and went back to school and worked at Gulf War.
Okay. Can you tell us about the setup of your jail and the types of inmates you serve?
Yes, our jail is actually, it's kind of a unique jail. We hold federal inmates, so we have a contract with the U.S. Marshal Service and Immigration to hold federal inmates. Most of the inmates that we have are federal inmates. there's not a corrections officer that's in the unit, that's watching the unit all the time. The corrections officers make rounds. So they have to make rounds every 15 to 30 minutes, going through and just making sure that things are okay. It's a difficult area to control because you're not always observant on what's going on in that. So it makes it more difficult. What we've done with that area is made it into a special management area. So this is where we have our lockdown inmates. So if they go into disciplinary sanctions, they're locked down 23 hours a day. And they have 1 hour out where they go into the day room. And once they have that hour out, they can use the phone, they can shower, read the paper. So that's basically what they're able to do during that hour. We only have or allow one person out at a time. So there's no contact between the inmates back there in our disciplinary setting. So when I first started, that was our jail. It was a linear cell, and we would end up, going to situations where we were usually putting situations all the time with fires out that you didn't know what was going on all the time. The Padre remote is it's also in a special management area, but it's an area where we keep like vulnerable adults, people that are classified at a lower level, people that have crimes that we want to pull away from the regular inmate population, such as sex crimes. Those crimes typically aren't very well thought of by the general population, and those people can be subject to manipulation, subject to some extortion, and they're subject to being able to be assaulted in the facility. So we want to pull those people out, keep them safe, and we have a workstation that's in a hallway that has glass that overlooks that area, and that's the Padre remote. It's a little bit different than when you're supervision for watching the inmates, and you've got center line, so you're able to see the inmates, throughout the day, but you don't really hear what's going on in there. It works well for what we have, and then we have direct supervision. Direct supervision is our general population, and in that area we have corrections officers in with the inmates throughout the entire day, and that works real well because not only do you see the inmates all the time, but you're watching, they're talking, and get a lot of information. You get to hear what's going on inside the unit, and you'll hear this from corrections officers that have been around who feel what's going on in the unit. So you get to know and feel the vibe that's going on inside that housing unit.
Okay. You touched on this, but could you talk more about administrative issues in the jail?
Sure. Our administrative duties are to make sure that the facility is being run according to state law, constitutional law, by our policies and procedures. So we, in administration, we write the policy and procedures for the staff to follow, and we make sure that the staff are following them. We take care of the hiring, the staff discipline. We make sure that
you mentioned your background. Can you tell us what are the minimum qualifications to be a correctional officer?
Sure. The minimum qualifications is a valid driver's license. You have to be a high school graduate, and that's your basic minimum qualifications. Now, when I go through the interview process, and we're looking for people that are well-rounded, people that are great communicators, and we look for people that have had 2 years degrees, 4-year degrees. So that is more appealing when you go through the interview process. That you're more likely to get a job with a 2-year or 4-year degree.
Okay. Do you have any advice for today's students?
One of the things that we push in corrections is firm, fair, and consistent. So if you get into this business, it's very important for you to be firm on the rules, consistent with the rules, and be fair with the rules. You can't be allowing one individual to do something that you're not allowing another individual to do. Going through the interview process is very important to do a little research on what you're getting into. So when you go through the interview process, you're able to intelligently answer the questions that are being asked. Communication is probably the biggest thing that we look for, a good communicator. Someone that is afraid of being able to talk to people and give them bad information on occasion, and but being able to deliver that information in a way that isn't going to jeopardize any kind of security issues in the facility.
Great, thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, you can see that what happens here is that this individual, he makes it pretty clear, that he looks at your education. You heard him say the minimum requirements, and I try to stress to students that the more education you get, the better you have a chance of getting a good job. And so you want to do as well as you can in school, and also notice he's talking about the firm and fairness. I've heard that over and over and over, and consistent. Firm, fair, and consistent. That's otherwise what you do is you create problems of rebellion within the prison or the jail or facility. Notice too that something else is that individuals who, and you probably already heard this and knew this, that individuals who commit sex offenses, they have to keep them away, because murderers and other individuals, they do not like sex offenders, especially child molesters. And I'll tell you something else they don't like. They don't like wife killers. They really don't. Particularly if you have a powerful position and you do it, it's not good. Not good at all. But the point of the matter is that there are problems. The other thing that he mentioned was that because of the kind of facility that they were talking about, 1 hour out. And then notice he said that they kept them one at a time out in order to keep down any problems. So there was a number of really good things in there that helps you understand in terms of jail. You can apply that to prison as well in terms of what he's talking about. So let's see if we can get this. I don't think we can. No. See, they didn't fix it. They said they fixed it. But anyway, the bottom line is that unless they just didn't do it for this week, but they did it for future courses, they have a tendency to do that sometimes. And that irritates me that the students for the classes that I have at this time, they're not able to get the benefits of that. So I went a little longer, but that's because I wanted to talk about that parole about 15 minutes longer. So any questions or thoughts or comments, or are you confused now about the assignments, or are you more clear on it? Yeah. Anything you need to know, let me know. Okay, you're all set. Okay, Carissa, Chanel, I saw real quick. Let's see, what'd you say? No, okay. Remember, you said it privately. Make sure that you always do things publicly. I see it first, Carissa did it, but always have it open so that everybody can get the benefit of what's taking place here. So, okay, well, with that, I'm going to say good night. I will be sending this out to each of you after either sometime tonight or early tomorrow, because I have to convert it over. It takes a little while. I don't just send it to you so that you don't have to use WebEx, because everybody's system doesn't work back for playing well. So now I convert them over to MP4s, and then you can actually get those on your, you can get a link, you get it on your phones, as well as one of my students told me that he looks at his on his iPad or Android pad, whichever. So, okay, I'm going to say good night to you guys, and again, I hope that this was beneficial for you, and that I hope to see you guys and some more in the next couple of weeks for our week 6. So, all right, have a good one. Good night.